coming to a close. So of course, to celebrate that 2022 is on its way, of course, we have to do the end of year list for 2021. And of course, I'm going to start off with positivity, my top 10 best movies of 2021. Now, there's a couple things before going into this video. First off, I haven't seen every single movie that came out in 2021. I heard Belgrave is very good. I heard Lawrence Pizza is very, very good. I heard they're great movies, but I have not seen those movies, so they won't be on this list. Second, this is my subjective list. If you don't like any of the movies on this list, that is completely fine. You want to do something about it? Let me know your top 10 favorite movies in the comments below. I really want to hear your picks. And I would say 2021 is a much better year than 2020. We had some pushback with COVID, but it's not as bad as 2020. I thought 2020 is probably one of the worst years in general, and it's one of the most hardest years for movie reviewing. This year is very refreshing. We had so many great movies this year, we had so many shit movies of the year, but of course, we're going to start with some positivity for this year. Because there's a lot of great movies that came out this year, so since there is a lot of great movies that came out in 2021, of course, I have to start with some honorable mentions. These are the movies that almost made my top 10 favorite movies of the year, and they're still great movies, but unfortunately they didn't make the list. Starting with Raya and the Last Dragon, Judas and the Black Messiah, The Mitchells vs. the Machines, Nobody, Ron's Gone Wrong, Tick Tick Boom, Eternals, The Dry, Free Guy, Encanto, No Time to Die, A Quiet Place Part 2, and the movie that almost made the list, really close to my number 10, The Suicide Squad. All those movies I highly recommend checking out. Those movies are fantastic, but of course they didn't make it into my final top 10. So guys, what are we waiting for? You know what you're here for, you're excited. It's time to present my top 10 best movies that I have seen in 2021. And we're going to start off this list with, of course, number 10. So, starting off with my number 10 is The Green Knight. A24 has definitely been one of the most independent production companies ever. They make great movies, they make shit movies, and I gotta say, The Green Knight is definitely one of the better A24 films that came out in a while. The best way to describe The Green Knight is that this film is a priceless art painting. This movie looks beautiful, it looks different, it looks original, it's creative and iconic. That's how I describe The Green Knight. It's beautiful with its cinematography, the look, the whole intensity, the whole adventure aspect. Dave Patel did one of the better performances that I've seen in a while. This is definitely a breath of fresh air for originality in 2021, and The Green Knight is definitely one of those movies. Yep, 2021 is definitely a big year for musicals. We had some great musicals this year, and we had some shit musicals of the year. And of course, this is a positive list, so we're going to talk about some great musicals that came out in 2021, and one of those is In the Heights. This is definitely one of the most fun I had in 2021. The musical sequences are fantastic. The cast in the movie is fantastic. And Lin-Manuel Miranda, man, he is busy this year. He made so many projects. In the Heights is definitely one of the most iconic from his, in my opinion. And Don M. Chu directed this movie very, very well. Love the style of this movie. It made me excited for the new Wicked movie he's going to direct, which finally that movie's been adapted. And literally after this film, I listened to the whole soundtrack on the way home. And that presents one of the best soundtracks that I've ever seen in 2021. Now, I would say, like I said, when musicals have been great this year, I would say horror films haven't. I think there are some pretty disappointing horror films that came out this year, but Last Night in Soho definitely didn't let me down. Edgar Wright, my god, he is such a wonderful director. Loved all of his films, and definitely Last Night in Soho is one of his most original. I love the look of this movie. I like that this movie pays tributes to the 1960s. This is his first horror film that he's ever directed, and oh my god, he completely nailed it. The movie is scary, it's creepy, but it's also a great mystery film with great performances like Anya Taylor-Joy, but my god, Thomasin McKenzie needs much more praise here. She is a fantastic actress and improves in this film. Last Night in Soho, you didn't let me down, Edgar Wright. A lot of people were very divisive on this film. I, unfortunately, love the film, so deal with it. 7. Now, coming into my number 7 is definitely one of the best acted films of 2021, and that is King Richard. Will Smith, man, needs an Oscar bait. He needs a nomination for Best Actor because his role as Venus and Serena Williams' father is like a champ. He is so fantastic in this film. This whole film is full of heart, it's full of joy. I love the intensity of this film, but this film does a great job of telling a story about a father that really loves his daughters very much, that he treats them pretty harshly to become the champions they are. And this movie is so inspiring, it's beautiful, and like I said before, Will Smith completely nails it in this film. And that's what I love about King Richard, it's completely inspiring. Now with musicals, I said musicals have been great this year, horror films haven't been great this year, but this year is fantastic with comic book movies, and one of the case is ShangChi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Probably in my opinion one of my favorite solo MCU films that came out in a very long time. I watched this movie after lockdown, and this movie just it felt like heaven for me. Simu Liu crushes that as Shang-Chi. Welcome to the MCU, buddy, because now you're my favorite MCU character in a while. The action is very badass, especially this really awesome bus scene. The movie looks beautiful, and I love that they bring martial arts into the table. And like Black Panther, this movie has an all-star Asian cast, and everyone killed it in this film. And the villain, my god, the villain in this movie. We got another great MCU villain, ladies and gentlemen. 5. Alright, up to the top 5. Now these are the 5 movies that I can both consider my number 1, but of course I have to put them in different order. So for my number 5, I gotta put The Last Dueler to the mix. This movie definitely is one of the most intense films of the year, and Ridley Scott directed this movie brutally well. This film is brutal. If you don't like scenes with sense of rape, I think you'll hate this movie, because this film has pretty much the most disturbing scenes of the year. But The Last Duel, what kills it in the film is the acting from Matt Damon, Adam Driver, I forgot the chick's name, the chick from Free Guy. I really freaking am embarrassed about that, but she is fantastic in the film. She definitely needs an Oscar bait as well. And Ben Affleck in this film is also really good in the film. Even though he wasn't much of a standout, he's still great in the film. The film has a good sense of drama, violence, and it's also a movie that definitely paralyzes women, and I really love that from Ridley Scott. This is definitely one of the best Ridley Scott films that I've seen in a very long time. My number 4 is the movie that blew my mind. It surprised me. It's everything I wanted a blockbuster movie to be, and that movie is Dune. You think I'm going to say No Way Home? Don't worry, we're not up to that yet. Dune is definitely one of the most mind-blowing movies of the year. I saw this movie at home, which was very shameful, but lucky enough, I saw this movie again in IMAX, and this is for IMAX. The movie looks fantastic. The entire cast in this movie is phenomenal, including Timothée Chalamet, another one that needs an Oscar bait. Most of these movies need an Oscar bait, ladies and gentlemen. I would say, this movie is basically the next science fiction classic. It's the next Star Wars. It's the next Lord of the Rings. The movie's fantastic with some of the best scores of the year. Hans Zimmer, my god, his score is great in the film. Another great Denis Villeneuve film. Just this movie completely crushes it, and I can't wait to see what the world of Dune provides us with Dune Part 2 coming out in 2023. Do I really have to wait that long? Finally, we got this cut. Everyone's been waiting for this cut for a long time, and after this movie, I definitely want to see more of this universe, and that is Zack Snyder's Justice League. After the terrible 2017's Justice League that Joss Whedon directed after the tragic passing of Zack Snyder's daughter, he came back courageously to continue his vision of Justice League, and I just gotta give so much praise to him, because this 4-hour epic succeeded. The characters are much better, the action is fantastic, the look of this movie looks fantastic. I understand why the aspect ratio is there. Zack Snyder directed this movie very, very well. It's a 4-hour epic that I completely glued my eyes on. They did so many things that are improved in the 2017's cut. Everything about this movie is fantastic, and I really want to see what the Snyderverse present us, because this movie is probably my favorite movie now in the DC Extended Universe, with the Suicide Squad that also came out this year. Now, 2 and 1. This is probably some of the most hardest 2 and 1, because these two movies, I can put them in different order, and I'll still love those movies individually. But, of course, have to put them in order, because it's a top 10 list. So, my number 2 for now, of course, it's Spider-Man No Way Home. Come on. Who doesn't put Spider-Man No Way Home in their top 10 best list? They need to, at least in a high order, because, man, this is a movie that you can do fan service right. It's a movie that keeps the nostalgia, but also has to do with the story at the same time. Nostalgic and story all together, it makes one cohesive film. Love this movie. Love Spider-Man No Way Home. I don't want to spoil too much because the movie's still recently come out, but I want to talk about the moments in this list. If you want to see more of my excitement, see my spoiler review. But Spider-Man No Way Home is definitely a big love letter to Spider-Man. The action is great, and Tom Holland, my god, he needs more credit for this movie, because this is one of his best performances that I've ever seen him in. here it is, guys, my number one, my favorite movie of 2021. This is the movie that mind-blown me the most, that made me cry the most, that made me feel like, yes, I'm watching an actual film. This is definitely one of the best directed films of the year. This is the film that really made me smile and cry at the exact same time. I love this movie so much. I have to put this movie my number one. I saw it recently again in theaters because I love this movie so much. My number one definitely goes to Steven Spielberg's West Side Story. I grew up with the West Side Story source material, and my god, I really not gonna lie to say this, and it's a big confession, I like this much better than the 60s film. Steven Spielberg, my god, he still knows how to make movies, and he's like probably in his 70s. He does a fantastic job directing this movie. This is my favorite musical of this entire year. The direction was great, the acting all around is great, especially Rachel Zegler. She needs a nomination for Best Actress because she deserves it. With Ariana DeBose as well as Best Supporting Actress as Anita, she crushes it in the film. The film felt like its own thing. It didn't feel like a copy and paste of the 60s film or the source material. This film felt like its own thing. This film is beautiful, the romance is fantastic, the action was even great. There are some action scenes in this film, but the musical sequences crushes it with some of the best choreography that I have seen in the film. There's nothing too much to say. West Side Story killed it in 2021. Hopefully this film gets nominated for Best Picture like the 60s film because this film deserved it with some of the best filmmakings that I have seen this entire year. So West Side Story, you deserve to be my number one. You crushed it in 2021. So guys, that is it. These are my top 10 best movies of 2021. Of course, my top 10 worst movies of 2021 is coming very soon with a new top 10 pick I'm going to name out, which I'm going to tell you. I'm going to let you wait till the video is uploaded. So, like I said in the intro, what are your top 10 favorite movies of 2021? Let me know in the comments below. And do you like these movies on my list? Let me know that also in the comments below. Make sure you guys follow me on social media links down below. Facebook, Stardust, Instagram, Twitter, or Letterboxd. Keep contact with me. And make sure you guys subscribe to my channel for my latest movie reviews and other movie related content. And have a nice day.